Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique and my co-host Vince to bring you the best in our veteran, military spouse, and first responder community. And Vince will introduce today's guest.
Absolutely. This is the month of May and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. We are very fortunate to have with us Dr. Carlos Garcia. He is the owner of Tampa Counseling and Wellness. Welcome, Dr. Garcia, to the show. Let's just kick off and start out. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Hi, Enrique. Hi, Vince. Thanks so much for having me here, man. This is great. I love the work that you guys are doing. So a little bit about myself. I'm a Cuban immigrant who came to the United States with my parents when I was 2. Grew up in Miami. Beautiful scenery to grow up around and also get in trouble in sometimes. Right after high school, I actually joined the Marine Corps. So I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. And transitioned into a career actually as a fireman after that, a fireman and a paramedic in St. Lucie County over on the other coast of Florida. Did that for about 7.5 years. And then decided that I wanted to go back to school and get my doctorate degree in psychology and really work with some of the folks. You know, I'd seen a lot of the overlaps in some of these different communities, right? The first responder communities, the veteran communities, and some of the ways that they were struggling with PTSD and some other things. And so I really wanted to be one of these folks that can come out here and really understand the nature of trauma, understand the nature of, I studied post-traumatic growth, which is something a lot of people don't talk about, and really put myself in a position to work with a lot of veterans like I do now, and a lot of first responders, police officers, firemen, and help them understand the nature of their work and how it impacts them emotionally and psychologically so that we're not so impacted by some of these mental health conditions. So currently I'm a licensed practitioner in sunny Tampa, Florida. And I have my own practice here, Tampa Counseling and Wellness. And again, we provide services around mental health and wellness for the community here, and trying to do good things and really shift the way people think about mental health.
Outstanding. And I'll tell you, hey, we're wearing lava red in honor of the Marine Corps. I know you love that, Doc. And so you've been in the military side, you've been in the first responder side, now you're on the first responder medical side. It's amazing how you transitioned throughout your years post-service. So tell us a little bit more about Tampa Counseling and Wellness.
Yeah, so, when I was coming out of my grad program, I realized that there was some spaces in the mental health field where things were missing. And clients or patients weren't getting really the services that they need. And a part of that, Enrique and Vince, is I think that our culture here has become very skewed in the way that we view mental health. We view it as something a problem that somebody has, something to be fixed, something to be cured, almost like the disease model in the medical, in the medical field. And what I started to realize is the more and more people I worked with, they were really similar to me. They had some similar story. They were struggling with some similar life experience with the things that we all struggle with, right? Grief, loss, transition in our roles and identities. And I was thinking, wow, these aren't people that are diseased, that there's something wrong with them, that they need to be fixed. They're human beings that have tons of compassion and empathy and are really just needing to understand the places in which they've been getting caught up. Maybe they grew up without a father, or maybe a parent that died early on. And so we don't realize the profound emotional and psychological impact that some of those things have. Even growing up with parents that were immigrants, right? I didn't have the luxury of having parents that could provide for me emotionally constantly there because they were too busy working to put food on the table. So, what does that do to the development of a young man who's looking for confidence in the world and things like that, right? So it's just a matter of helping people understand their stories, and that's our approach at Tampa Counseling and Wellness. All of our therapists come from a place of understanding that we're all humans and that we all suffer from something at some point in our lives, and that we want to bring a service that allows people to feel that we are collaborative, that we're walking alongside them on this journey versus us being the experts that's trying to fix them in some way.
I love it. You demystifying the myth of what mental health looks like and what it should not be and what should be. So I appreciate Tampa Counseling and Wellness of doing that and walking alongside our journey, because every journey is different. And that's great. And speaking of journey, we all got impacted by the pandemic or influenced by it. How did that impact your clients and how you operate?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the, from a business perspective, things sort of worked out for my business, right? I think people started to find themselves going through a lot of hardships, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And what I pegged it to was, I mean, human beings, we're sort of naturally wired to like certainty, to like structure, to know what's happening in our lives. And what this pandemic did was it really flipped that on its head for people. So now there was a lot of uncertainty. And so people started to panic. What's going to go, what's going to happen with my kids? What's going to happen with my job? What's going to happen financially? And so I think it was sort of this awakening moment, believe it or not, for people to see and slow down and say, hey, wait a second, there might be some things in my life that I'm not particularly happy with. I think some people woke up and saw, man, I've been at this job for 10, 15 years and I haven't really been happy here. Or some people were forced to look at the relationships in their home and say, wait a second, I mean, we've been walking around here like zombies, married for 10 years, but completely unhappy. And how is that impacting our lives? So it was unfortunate to see that so many more people were experiencing anxiety and some depression and isolation, but it was beautiful to see that they were reaching out and that they were getting the help and that they were not feeling bad about getting the help. So what we were able to do at Tampa Counseling and Wellness is we kept our doors open. A lot of therapists at that time started going to virtual sessions and things like that, and we did do some of that. But there were still some folks that really needed that one-on-one, face-to-face contact with their counseling. And so we made sure that we were keeping our offices clean and sterile and all of that, but we continued to see people in person throughout. So that was, that was a really positive thing because people really wanted those in-person sessions, and we were able to provide that service for them.
So good that you were able to modify and pivot safely and still provide what the client needed. And that's so important as we provide a service. We're service providers, Vince and I. When you do that and you take the added thought to the client's needs, you get the most for that session. So good on you guys for thinking outside and being cautious, but still thinking about the client. So, there's a lot that has occurred the last 2 years. There's a lot that will occur in the next 2 years. So what's on the horizon for Tampa Counseling and Wellness?
Yeah, so a few things. One of those things is we have a sort of a campaign now, and we've put it on some shirts and we put it on stickers, and it's sort of the motto that we've started to live by at Tampa Counseling and Wellness. And the motto is, it's okay not to be okay. And I think we're really giving people permission and the space to say, it's absolutely okay to struggle in life, that we're all going to go through it, and that we absolutely don't need to feel any sense of shame around it, that it's absolutely okay to fall, that it's absolutely okay to feel stuck, and that it's more a process of, what are the things I need to learn about myself to get me unstuck? What are the things I need to learn about myself and my environment to become more resilient? But that it's absolutely okay to struggle. And it's been beautiful to see the way the community is engaging with this message. My understanding from a local sort of business associate is that the new police chief of Tampa is looking to bring more awareness to mental health on the police force, and is using this idea of like, it's okay not to be okay. So I that's one of the things we have going on. The other is we just started a couple of men's groups, and coming from having experienced this military culture, the first responder culture, where I don't know about you gentlemen, but as a Hispanic, I grew up in a house where I was constantly told that crying is not okay and that emotions are not okay. And at 18, I joined the Marine Corps, and they continued to pass on that message that I got to just shove everything down. And then I went into a paramilitary career where it was expected that you maintain everything in. Well, it wasn't a surprise that I found myself in my early 30s full of depression because I had been repressing my emotions for 30 something years. And so I know all too well the dynamics of our culture that have this expectation that men have it always together and that, we're the providers. And so we can never struggle. And so it's become my heart's passion to create spaces for men where we can show up, man, in all of the ways that we are, with all of the scars that we have, with all of the traumas that we have, and feel absolutely more empowered and to feel more manly, right? Manly about knowing, hey, I'm somebody that can experience emotions. I mean, I'm an emotional being. For any of those of you who are listening here in Florida that watch those Publix commercials around the holiday seasons, right? Man, those things always got me, right? I'm just an emotional person. And now I just don't carry the stigma or the shame anymore about being an emotional man. So the men's group is really helping to create a space where we can redefine what it means to be a man in our society.
Absolutely redefining what it is to be a man. And
Yes,
also
sir.
right here, it's okay to not to be okay, as Dr. Garcia mentioned.
Yeah.
So let's transition somewhat. There's a great opportunity to talk about leadership as hence the leadership void.
Absolutely.
What do you do, Dr. Garcia, to aid and thrive in your spare time to make your professional life blossom to where it is today?
Yeah. That's a great question. One of the things that I have sort of come to know as I've been doing this work, when you sit with people every day who are going through life challenges and are going through really tough emotional things, if you're a compassionate human being, there's no way that some of that doesn't sit with you later, right? It's hard for me to leave my work at the office because it's human suffering. And the more exposed you are to it, right? I mean, in the military, as a first responder, now in sitting with people, listening to their stories of suffering, it's hard for your heart not to get affected to see, wow, like the truth is that our lives do encompass a lot of human suffering, right? And so what I have found, Vince and Enrique, is that I need to really protect my space by, going to yoga. How am I taking care of myself? What are the foods that I'm putting into my body? Going to acupuncture, right? Having my own people, my own network of people to talk to and vent to, having my own therapist, my own counselors and coaches to go to when I'm stuck with some stuff that maybe I don't see, right? So I'm learning that the best way I could ever be there for you or any of my clients is by working on me, right? By making sure that my cup is full to be able to give from. And the best ways that you could ever be there for somebody else is also by being there for yourself. That's how we heal each other.
Absolutely, folks. I can't give any better advice than that. I tell you, because it really does start and end with us. If we're able to do anything for someone else, is because we put that mask on first, right? We
Exactly.
was able to take care of that first, and then be able to supply whatever
Yeah.
products or services that we may have. Outstanding
Yeah.
advice. Now,
Absolutely.
talking about advice, you went
Yes.
from the military to the
Good.
para to now the mental side of things. And throughout all that trajectory, you must have faced some leaders that gave you something that said, I'm going to write this down forever because I need to use this in my coming years. So what advice did you receive from those people that you would like to pass on to emerging leaders today?
Absolutely, Enrique. That's a great question. And there was a lot of those moments. But what I also share, what I'm going to share is an invitation for people to remember how absolutely important it is to learn from the things that don't go well, from the down moments, from the failures. I've learned just as much from poor leaders throughout my career in the military and in the fire department than I have from good leaders, of seeing the things that don't go well, of seeing how easily you can deteriorate camaraderie, to see how other people follow or don't follow certain leadership traits. So it's important to learn from both. And I think one of the biggest sort of traits, values, skills that I have seen from leaders during my time in some of these places is to lead with compassion, man. To lead from a good heart space, to know that we are all going through our own stuff at any given time, and that sometimes when somebody shows up with maybe not a lot of motivation or not a lot of energy, to first be curious to find out, where is this coming from, before saying, hey, this is unacceptable, this is not okay, you're in the wrong. So it's allowed me to, even now in my business, create a culture of people that feel really safe coming and talking to you about the things they're struggling with, right? Because I tell this to entrepreneurs all the time. If you think that you can keep what happens at home out of your business, or what's happening in your business out of your home, you got another thing coming to you, because those things are going to bleed in. Why? Because we're people, right? I don't care what business you're in, what product you sell, you're in the business of people and relationships, right? Your employees, your supporters, your all of it, right? Your customers, they're all people. And so if we can learn to navigate the emotional intelligence of people, then we can run a really good business. Then we can be very successful in delivering that product in a way that feels authentic, in a way that feels like we're doing good, not just in our pocket, but for the world.
Absolutely. It's all about the foundation of people in this case. And to your point early on, is to be curious, to be a compassionate leader, definitely will drive those traits, those skill sets, those values to the next level. So those relationships are so important in any industry, any trade, any organization, and to yourself and to your family. So Absolutely. Great advice, great theories there that we can actually inject. Now, dealing with challenges. What would you like to say to the audience about challenges? 2 or 3 tips about how you deal with challenges, or challenges you think they should strive to work with.
Absolutely. I would say the first thing is embrace it, right? If you think of most of our many of our upbringings and in our society, we place a lot of value for children very early on achievement, right? The kid that comes home with 5 A's and a B, the parents tend to be like, what? Hey, what's up with this B? You need to change this B. You need to be better at baseball. You need to be reading more books. We're like constantly pushing this idea of be better. And what we don't realize is that for a child in that sort of psychological developmental stage, the message isn't, oh, all the things that I'm doing are wrong. It's like, what must be wrong with me? It's no surprise that we live in a culture where a lot of people walk around feeling like they're not enough, seeking more money, a sort of career, a title, a skinnier body. We're looking for all of these external validations to feel fulfilled, but we're not feeling fulfilled with ourselves, right? And so I think one of the things that are really important for me to pass on to people is like, embrace your failures. There doesn't need to be shame around failing. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, most of the ways that you have grown to be wiser, that you have learned in this life, has been through the failures, right? And so if we can take that shame around this idea of failing, we start to embrace it. Think about what it feels like to step outside every day of your life, step out of the door, and to welcome failure and be like, whatever comes, I'm going to overcome it. It's so easy to get caught up in this mindset of constantly thinking in the future and becoming anxious about all of the unknowns, because I don't know if you all can tell the future. I can't, right? But we can create a lot of panic in ourselves about the future. What's going to happen? How much money am I going to be making? Am I going to be able to take care of my family? I want people to shift their thinking from, oh my God, what's going to happen in the future, to let me think back. Let me look over my shoulder and think and look at all of the adversities that I have overcome already. All of those times where I was stuck somewhere in my life thinking I wasn't going to be able to get out of this, and I somehow found the skills, the knowledge, the heart, the motivation to get up and get around this thing, or over this thing, or through this thing. if we reside more in that space of like, hey, what does that mean about the things that are going to be hard in my future? Guess what? Chances are very good that the same thing is going to happen. We're going to overcome that too. So that's another sort of trick and little strategy of how to shift that thinking, that perspective. Don't worry about the future. Just know that whatever comes your way, you're probably going to act like you have in the past and overcome it. And I would say that the third thing, gentlemen, is, and this is something I'm still working on, right? I haven't gotten it all figured out, but how do we lead from a place of constant vulnerability and compassion? How do we continue to give our employees, our customers, our clients, the leading by setting the example, being the role models, and modeling what it's like to be open to accepting your mistakes, to saying when I've done something wrong and taking that apology, and really, again, allowing people the space to be in all of the places where they are.
I love that. Don't let failure be a pothole on your journey. Make it a road sign, right? Make it a road sign. So, there's a lot that folks that challenge with these times in their lives. And even with times of change, right? So you're about to go and embark in a time of change here, not too long from now. So how do you deal with change, or what are some strategies that you have that you can share with someone to be able to deal with change?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more of the same of before. I've spent the last year. I actually found myself last year in the jungles of Costa Rica on a spiritual retreat. And again, I'm somebody that happily tells people that I've been to therapy and I've been to the Tony Robbins seminar, and I'm always working on myself. I want to know everything that this brain does, how it does it, why it does it, because the better I know myself, the better I can help other people navigate their challenges, right? And so what that led to was for the last year, a lot of meditation, a lot of quiet time with myself, which most people are absolutely like deathly afraid of. Oh my God, what if I sit quietly with my thoughts? Where will they go? Where will it take me? And so I've cultivated this practice of quieting my mind and really stepping into my heart space a lot more. And what it's showing me is a lot of the stories that I create in my mind. 95% of the things that I create, worry about, actually end up never happening. Wow, that is really good to know about myself. And I think through quieting that constant chatter, because I mean, we're constantly thinking 50, 60,000 thoughts a day. Some we're aware of, some not always, but they're there. And if they're there, that means they're impacting us psychologically, they're impacting us emotionally. So I think in dealing with adversity, what I'm learning is to give myself a lot of grace. I heard you use this word earlier, Enrique. Say, I shared with you all before we got started that I have my first baby on the way here in 3 months. And your advice to me was like, hey, give yourself some grace. And this is the advice I have for your audience. As you're navigating challenges, give yourself grace. Know that you're not always going to have all of the knowledge and the skills or the confidence that you need in that moment, but that moment is giving you exactly what you need. The things that come into our lives that are hard, that feel impossible, are showing us the way, the liberation, the freedom to work on the things that we need to work on. Oh, do I get caught up in resentment? Oh, do I get caught up in anger? I know it feels like for us, we don't want to deal with that in that moment, but in a way it is the universe or God or whatever you believe in that's sort of being graceful with us and saying, here, so when I get cut off in traffic and that anger rises in me, instead of getting upset about it, I'm like, oh, what is the beautiful opportunity here for me to learn about how to be a more calm and compassionate human being. So giving yourself grace when those changes and those challenges come, allowing yourself to feel overwhelmed at times, and know that is just a part of the process, and that this too will shift, that this too you will overcome.
Well, first, let me say congratulations on your newborn in 3 months to you and your wife. That's amazing. You gave some great advice, giving yourself grace. I'm here sitting in a hot room, no AC. I'm giving myself grace being in your presence. I feel like I look fast forward. I'm seeing like in Noticiero, Dr. Carlos Garcia. You know, there's a TV show coming on too. I hope that's in the future. But for folks that want to get a hold of you or Tampa Counseling and Wellness, and let us know, is it only for folks in residents of Tampa, or can anybody reach out to your company?
So anybody in Florida can. We're as psychologists and therapists, we are restricted by our licenses to practice only, you know, for right reasons, to practice in our state. So anybody in Florida can reach out to us. We do have clients sometimes in Miami and up in around the Panhandle. And we do virtual sessions too. And one of the things I'd like to say about Tampa Counseling and Wellness, again, in this idea of shifting mental health, we aren't for people who are depressed, anxious, panic, full of OCD. We're for people who find themselves stuck in some area of their life. Maybe it's in a relationship, maybe it's in their matrimony, maybe it's, with their career, maybe it's a disruption in your relationship with your kids. Whatever it is, we are all about self-growth and self-exploration. We want to help take us humans to a place where we can feel healed and we're living with more love and more joy. And so Tampa Counseling and Wellness, that's what we're all about. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at tampacounselingandwellness.com. I also have my separate accounts on both Facebook and Instagram, and that's at LifeDoc.
Absolutely. And we'll have that information as part of the show notes and video so that you can get a hold of Doc here and the Tampa Wellness. And I'm telling you, there is a lot of growing that we need to do, right? And so getting help is not a failure, right? Getting help is a sign that you are realizing your frailty. You're realizing that you're human, and we all need it. I love the way you said, hey, feed yourself first. You got to feed yourself. Hey, this is the way also to feed yourself. And so if you want to get a hold of the Leadership Void, our email is theleadershipvoid@gmail.com. That's where you'll send any inquiries you have about leadership topics you'd like to hear on the show, or any guests that you would like for us to feature on the show as well. Doc, I tell you, first of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for your time in the, first responder community, and now dealing with our minds, our explorations of self. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And gentlemen, keep doing this because it's so needed. We need to really be teaching our leaders how to do this right, how to come from a place of compassion and love in order to right, as we're creating these companies and these products and these things, to do it from a place that we're making a beautiful and positive impact on the world.
Absolutely, because with that, failure becomes growth, and growth is where it's all about. And folks, talking about growth, we want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us, and you're going to enter into the drawing to win this wonderful book, Standing O by Scott McGregor. Just hit like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Leadership Void. Speaking of Mental Health Awareness Month, we do two things. We do radio check on the 1st and the 15th of every month at 1900, 7 o'clock on LinkedIn Live. Chance to get our first responder community, our military community together, and just, hey, show up. And show up, because there's some resources you might need. There's opportunities to talk, collaborate. 1st and the 15th, radio check, 1900 hours, be there. This episode and every is possible by the home team of Round Point Service Mortgage Corporation. But today we have the doc with us, future father, and talk about growth master extraordinaire, Dr. Carlos Garcia. Thank you again for being on our show. God bless, and in the future, good luck.
Thank you.